Hi, and welcome to Best Practices, Compare and Order Fractions and Mixed Numbers for 4th grade. I'm Amy Stack. Take a look at these two images on your screen. When students are exposed to mixed numbers and fractions greater than 1, sometimes they don't really know what that means. So we want to make sure that we are explicitly explaining to them how mixed numbers and fractions greater than 1 are related, and that they're not called improper fractions. All fractions are fractions, and some are just greater than a whole, and some are just less than a whole. In this 4th grade unit of comparing and ordering fractions and mixed numbers, these are the key ideas that are found in the parent letter. We will be comparing and ordering fractions that include mixed numbers and fractions greater than 1. They might have different numerators and denominators. We want to use appropriately scaled number lines and benchmark fractions. We can also use fraction tiles and fraction circles, as well as drawing out those fraction tiles. Some of the benchmarks we might see are 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, and 1 whole. The denominators that we have would be limited to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12, 16, and 100. What does student learning look like in the classroom? Here we can see students using fraction tiles to compare the fractions on the task card. We can also see students using a number line, either using a number line on its own or relating it to the fraction tiles or fraction circles that they are using. The students can then write the comparison of the fractions using greater than or less than signs. Students can also compare the fractions using a common denominator. That's another strategy that students can use. Benchmark fractions are another strategy, comparing the fraction to 0, to 1/2, or to 1 whole. The MTRs that would go along with this would be 1, 2, 5, and 7. What does student learning sound like in the classroom? These are some math chat cards from STEMscopes. What would happen if the whole wasn't the same size? We want students to recognize that in order to compare the fractions, the wholes must be the same size. Look at 4/8 using your fraction tiles and then your number line. What can you determine about this? We want students to relate what they see with fraction tiles and on their number line. How can a number line be used to order fractions? We want students to know the importance of a number line. And how does knowing whether a fraction is greater or less than a benchmark fraction help you compare the fractions? We want to know that benchmarks are very important in helping them compare. The MTRs that go along with these math chat cards would be 1, 4, and 6. Here's some vocabulary from this unit that we want students to know. Benchmark fractions, denominator, fraction, mixed number, number line, and numerator. Making sure students use this precise vocabulary throughout the lessons will give them a better understanding of the meaning of each of the words. How will students demonstrate their knowledge? Here are a few ideas from STEMscopes. This one shows number lines and using fraction tiles, writing the comparison of the fractions. Another comparing and ordering fractions, show what you know from STEMscopes, as well as a fluency builder from STEMscopes, so students can also show it in a game mode. The MTRs that would go along with this part would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7. Here are some questions to gauge student understanding. How could you compare these two fractions using benchmarks? We want students to be able to tell how they would use the benchmark fraction, and a lot of times that is using the 1/2 benchmark, telling whether it's greater than or less than that 1/2. We can ask students to compare using two different strategies, using common denominators or benchmark fractions to compare two different numbers. We want students to state why they would pick the certain strategy and why it is better than the other strategy. These can be found on the Math Smarts website. An engaging task or activity for this unit at home could be ordering fractions. Grab some dice and roll them for your numerator and your denominator. Then students can use that fraction to plot it on a number line. You could even use 3 dice to make a mixed number or even a fraction greater than 1. The MTRs that could go along with this could be 1, 3, and 7. Thank you for joining us for the Best Practices 4th grade Compare and Order Fractions and Mixed Numbers. Remember, no alligator mouths when comparing. Make sure you're using your number lines, fraction tiles, area models, and benchmarks to prove our comparisons. See you next time.